Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations held in Cairo, Egypt has come and gone with memories lingering. The football fiesta, many say, has brought some players into the limelight and fame that could translate into good fortunes or greener pastures, as they say. But there are issues, and among them, lessons to be learnt for countries like Nigeria, whose Super Eagles won the bronze medal, placing third. Now, it was observed that Nigeria had the top scorer and a lot of young players who did well, but had challenges that include mistakes in the defense, weak fighting spirit, and not putting forward the best team against Madagascar. But did Nigeria display a good sense of character, given the importance of football and Nigeria's position in world football? Now, how true the assertion that football is beyond winning and losing? Now, these are some of the questions we'll be asking tonight as we do a post-mortem of AFCON 2019. But first, let's get to see this report by Kene Imagbodike.
The 32nd edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, the biennial International Men's Football Championship of Africa, organized by the Confederation of African Football (CAF), held in Egypt between June 21 to July 19, 2019. The tournament featured a total of 52 matches in 4 cities across 6 venues, namely Cairo International Stadium, 30 June Stadium, Alexandria Stadium, Suez Stadium, Ismailia Stadium, and Al Masry Club Stadium. It was the first in a series to be expanded from 16 to 24 teams, thus recording 102 goals in total, representing 1.96 per match. Attendance stood at 943,053, representing 18,136 per match.
The expansion did pay off because when we saw the likes of Madagascar making that debut and coming all the way, we saw the likes of Burundi. Yes, it's going to get there at some point. But what the most important thing is that we understood that there are no underdogs. That's just the truth. When you look at the kind of play, the kind of tactic that came to bear, you know that some coaches still have a whole lot to learn. But finally, it is just about making it a standard one for the 2021. But in 2019, it wasn't exactly, with the whole drama that later unfolded at the end, it wasn't exactly the high point for me. But the teams that came in, the debutants that came in, they actually did prove a mettle that they have been, where I've been wanting to see for a very long time.
Desert Foxes of Algeria sustained perfect run in the tournament en route to the final, where they beat Teranga Lions of Senegal by a lone goal to clinch their second title on July 19.
They've scored 12 goals in total. Oh, now they're moving into a good attacking position. There's a shot that's coming in there from Bounedjah. And, well, this is absolutely incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Did you see what happened there? The deflection's taking the ball into the back of the net. It's absolute madness that's taking place here. It comes off Sané and it just goes flying up in the air and over behind the goalkeeper, and no one can quite believe it.
Algeria are the champions 2019 here in Egypt.
A keenly contested third-place match on July 17 saw Nigeria Super Eagles defeating Carthage Eagles of Tunisia 1-0 to claim bronze, their 7th in history.
It's a good ball out wide. Picked up here by Collins, gets past this man, there's a chance for a decent, it's a fumble, it's in the back of the net, it's an early goal. Media has just made a massive blunder, unable to clear the ball, and the Nigerians run away and celebrate as the ball goes into the back of the net. Igalo.
Nigeria forward Odion Igalo won the tournament's highest goal scorer with 5 goals. Ismail Benessa of Algeria was adjudged best player as well as best young player, with his teammate Rais Mboli emerging best goalkeeper, while Senegal won the Fair Play Award. With the prize money increased for the 2019 edition, the champions received $4.5 million as $2.5 million went to the runners-up. All semi-finalists got $2 million each, while all quarter-finalists got $1 million each. All eyes will be on Cameroon as the West African nation hosts the 33rd edition of the tournament in the year 2021. In Abuja, I am Kenan Ima Aburike.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Shehu Dikku, who's second Vice President, Nigeria Football Federation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Steve. My pleasure.
Right. We're also joined tonight by Abdurrahman Ibn Muhammad, former General Manager, NTA Sports 24, and General Manager, NTA International. Abdurrahman, good to see you.
Cyril, good to be here.
All right. Let me also welcome Jacob Oyekale. He's a sports analyst. Jacob, thanks for joining us.
And thanks for having me. My
right.
pleasure.
Okay. As we always do, we acquaint you with the procedure on this program. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The platforms will be on your screen. We advise you take advantage of them. However, for all those who are calling in, we say this every Tuesday. For those who will be phoning in tonight, do us a favor. When your call gets through, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And the best way to know that your call is through to the studio is you'll see your name appear on screen. Now, once that happens, it means your call has been passed to the studio. And once you see your name on screen, just go right ahead with your question or comment. Don't bother about the greetings. You probably will not have enough time to do that. And of course, remember how erratic the phone lines can be. So just go straight to the point, make your contribution, and keep it short and straight to the point so others can get on the platform as well. So once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. Tonight is football. We're reviewing AFCON, and we hope to have an interesting evening. But let's start from the beginning and speak with the second Vice President of the NFF. Well, we're done with AFCON, but give us your assessment of the competition so far.
Well, from the NFF perspective, I think looking at where we are coming from and how we get there and how we ended it up. For example, if you look at, we missed the last two editions, not because of our own making, because of issues that were created during the qualifiers beyond us that got the qualifiers to dwell, and we failed to qualify. Everybody was pained about it. This time around, the issues were still there, but we have learned the lesson. We refuse to allow those issues to distract us. We move forward under the NFF, under the leadership of Ahmad Jupinik, who was actually supposed to be here. And we qualified with the match to Sepia, and therefore we went to the Nations Cup. And if you look at Nigeria records at the Nations Cup, we are always among the medals. Regardless of the challenges, regardless of what happened, we always try. Nigeria always, only on two occasions or three occasions, I think we have not finished among the medals. So that's the benchmark, and that is why everybody, once Nigeria is in the Nations Cup, everybody expects we have to win. But in the last 32 editions, we have only won 3 times. But we have finished on the medal table almost 18 times or 16 times or thereabout. So we pushed, and we went with a very young squad. Basically, I think only about 2 or 3 players that had the experience of playing the Nations Cup. All the players were playing for the first time. But they have some had the World Cup behind their belt and everything, a very young team, so we built. Yes, the objective every time Nigeria is playing Nations Cup is to win. But we push it to the limit, and at the end of the day, we get the silver, the bronze. And I think we take the positive, that at least we did not disappoint Nigeria. We maintain that standard. Recall, even during while we are at the Nations Cup, preparing for the Nations Cup, there were still being issues being created to distract the NFF, but we didn't bother about that. We did the best we can under the circumstances, in spite of the deliberate issues that were created to distract the team, to distract the leadership, to distract everybody. And I can say it's a good success for us. Because if you analyze the games, all the games we played, at least if you analyze the statistics of the games and you see how the team played, at least it's a huge improvement, and it shows that with the stability and the consistency we can do better. Even the last game we lost against Algeria, the semi-final, will take us out. By the time we went back and looked at the game statistics, we actually better Algeria in all the statistics of the game, except the goal scored.
Well,
so that is football for you. Yeah, that's football for you.
So
2 goal on target, 2 goals.
Fine, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, then, so we'll return to you, but let's go over to Abdurrahman. The quest for a 4th win came apart at the semi-final stage, but give us your general assessment of the performance.
Well, my personal assessment is picking from where Malam Shehu Dikko left. Where were we coming from? We were absent in the last 2 editions, so the players in that team, with the exception of Mikel Obi and Ahmed Musa and Omero, those 3 didn't have a feel of what the Nations Cup was all about. So it was a learning curve for generally maybe 95% of all the players. But can that be taken as a defense or an alibi for what Nigerians usually think about the Super Eagles when they play on the African soil for the African Championship? The school of thought that wants to lean on this, where we are coming from, since it appears there has been no precedent, at least over the last 4 years, we've missed the last 2 editions due to issues that I would like us to take on later in this discussion.
All right.
To that school of thought, yes, something has been achieved. But for the incurable optimist looking at the potential that Nigeria should have and that Nigeria does have in terms of our population, in terms of the talent that is inbuilt in our footballers, we underachieved. Okay. What are the factors? As we delve into this discussion further, we should be able to bring them out.
All right, thank you. We'll look at those issues certainly, but let's come to Jacob. And yes, Nigeria can be described rightly so as a footballing nation. So was it too much to expect that for the 4th time Nigeria would win the Cup of Nations?
Yeah, thank you. I think it was not too much to expect that Nigeria will win. Just as the 2 earlier speakers have said, from where we are coming from and checking statistics, Nigeria is the 4th footballing exporting country in the world, after Brazil, Argentina, France, then Nigeria. That is to tell you that Nigeria has a lot of footballing potential. Marry that with the population of Nigeria. Nigeria has almost 200 million people that are residing in it, and judging by that, over the last couple of editions, I think the performance of Nigeria starts really taking shape from 1976, when we won our first bronze medal, and from then 78 same, and in 1981 gold. The 2 times we did not win is in Libya in 1982 and in Ghana in 2008. Then in 1984, a Nigerian coach in person of Chief Onigbede took a young team that can be compared to what went to the team that went to the 2019 Nations Cup. They just had like 3 or 4 winners from the 1980 Nations Cup in person of Muda Lawal, Felix Olabi, Aloysius Atuegbu, and Harry Nwosu that went with them. And the team got to the final, losing to Cameroon, all because they were inexperienced. But it was a credible performance. And back then, it was just 8 teams that went to the tournament. We couldn't qualify in 1986, that was in Egypt, and in 88, when we came back, we got to the final again, losing to the same Cameroon. Same happened in 1990 against Algeria, giving Algeria taking their own pound of the flesh. 92, 94, then we won the Nations Cup, because 92 we came third again, winning the bronze medal. And all because of diplomatic issues, and people still have it at the back of their mind that 96, 98 and year 2000, Nigeria would have won the gold medal of the Nations Cup, because we had a break because of suspension in 96 and 98. But coming to year 2000, we got to the final and losing to our nemesis again, that was Cameroon, in an agonizing way. Because if it was now, we have goal line technology now. Maybe Ikpeba's goal would have counted and the story could have changed. In Mali 2002, the team did not play very well, but they still won the golden bronze. And in 2004, Nigeria won everything except the cup. That was the climax when Okocha took the shine on the Nations Cup. And in 2006, Eguavon, a Nigerian coach again, following in the steps of Christian Chukwu, took Nigeria to the semi-final, and he won the bronze medal as well. Then in 2008, a foreign coach now, we could not go beyond the quarter-final. Then back in 2010, we won our golden bronze again, because at a point in time, people say Nigerians' name should even be engraved on the bronze of the Nations Cup. And the sad news started in 2012, when erroneously information could not be well managed. When playing against Guinea at the National Stadium in Abuja, they couldn't know that winning that match by any margin could qualify them for Nations Cup. They sought forward to search for goals. At the end of the day, they got punished and Guinea got the equalizing goal, and there we could not qualify for 2012 Nations Cup. And just like the proverbial ram that went back, we came with full force in 2013 to win the Nations Cup, trying to, compensate for missing the 2012 edition. Now we've missed the last two editions. And looking at the performance of Nigeria generally, honestly, if you look at the standard and the rating of Nigerian team and the teams we played against, the only team that we played against that was higher on the FIFA ranking than Nigeria that we played was Tunisia. Every other team we played, Nigeria is far, far ahead of them on FIFA ranking. But what was our performance? At that, I beg to disagree a bit with the Vice President of the Nigerian Football Federation, because the Nigeria underperformed in most of those matches. For example, when we played Burundi in our first match, Burundi was the lowest ranked team in the tournament, 134. And we labored to get the lone goal that won the game for us. Same in the second match, we played against Guinea, we won 1-0. Then we played a team ranked 108. And unfortunately, I wouldn't know what went wrong with the tactics of the coach. But generally, if you look at the way we played, the coach was conservative in his approach to the game. You have 4 central defenders, and most of the midfielders that played before he started playing Iwobi in an advanced role are all defensive midfielders. And you can imagine playing a team like Madagascar and you have 7 players behind the ball. How do you get the ball across to the strikers? It's just counter to what Nigeria are used to. Okay. Nigerian team are used to attacking from the days of, from that 1976 I talked about, up to 2010, we are used to attacking football, especially flying from the wings. To mention the days of mathematical Segun Odegbami, the way Nigeria fly and attack from the wing, and we score a lot of goals from there, you know. By the time you mention that lineage from Babautu Mohammed to Segun Odegbami to Rashidi Yekini to the Finidi George to Tijani Babangida, and from the left wing, from Haruna Ilerika to Adoke Amesimaka, Onfren Odebo, Folonsho Kenla, Emmanuel Amunike, Victor Ikpeba. You have flying wingers from either the left or from the right, and we get goals. But the approach of the coach in this tournament was a bit conservative, and it really prevents us from playing the normal free-flow football we expect of a Nigerian team.
Okay. So much information. We're going to see how we'll dissect all that and see where we went from. But we're glad to be joined on this discussion by Segun Odegbami. Of course, you just heard his name mentioned now. Former captain of Nigeria, one known then as the mathematical Segun Odegbami. Thanks for being with us tonight. Okay. Oh dear. Well, I'm afraid we have a bit of a glitch with the sound from our Lagos end. We'll fix that in just a moment, and then we'll return to Segun Odegbami again. As soon as we'll fix that audio hitch, we'll be back in our Lagos studio. But let's come back here to Abuja. Yes, we've talked about Nigeria's performance. Jacob thinks we underperformed. Abdurrahman thinks we underperformed. You think it was good enough. But beyond Nigeria, what was the standard of play generally by the African countries? Did it reflect the thought that African football has improved over the years, the quality of play?
Well, I think so. And Jacob have already alluded to it. For the fact that he's complaining Nigeria played Burundi and have to label to get the win and stuff like that. And you can see how Madagascar performed, you can see how the Benin performed and other smaller teams that were giving the big teams a run for their money. And that really justified the fact, the decision the CAF took to expand the tournament to 2014, which basically is to give other teams that under normal circumstances, under 8 teams or 16 teams, those teams cannot be able to qualify because the qualifiers are very difficult. So now we showcase them to the world, and you can see, I saw a player playing for Madagascar who was playing in the 5th division in France, and he was holding his own in the whole tournament, which shows football is always the same, just opportunity. And that level of play have shown that there's no any pushovers in football. Any team can hold their own, except maybe some. You need to get the quality and maybe some edge from your players. You need to have the quality players to be able to edge out and to win those games. And so I think the decision of CAF to have the 4 teams have shown that yes, we can play. And the quality that was brought to the fore, I think, was quite okay. Even though if you look at the statistics, for example, number of goals per match, the average goals is a bit lower than the other competitions, because teams were very, very conservative in this, as they were saying, because everybody started getting, when you see the lower teams and the lower ranked teams competing almost at par with the higher ranked teams, everybody started playing to be cautious, because you consider a goal in this tournament is very difficult to come back from those goals. And so in those previous tournaments, the average goal was about 2.3 per match. This tournament was about 1.9 per match. So, but at least it shows, I think the quality was quite good, based on the reviews from other jurisdictions. For example, from Europe and from South America, those that watched the tournament were quite excited. And if we go back to the marketing side and look at the numbers, the number of eyeballs that were on the Nations Cup across the world, shows that the quality is quite good and it's quite okay. That fans who are not Africans are really staying up to watch the games. And also this justified the fact that the tournament was moved from January, February, March or thereabout to the summertime elsewhere. It really gives a lot of value and exposure to the tournament. And I think CAF should be happy and see how this can be sustained going forward.
So if we could say there's improvement in African football, why would it be that that one nation who should be in the lead of football has not truly improved to the level that was expected by most people at Drama?
Well, first, let me align myself with the thoughts by Malam Shehu Diko that, yes, truly, the standard of play was good in terms of comparative analysis. The fact that JJ has spoken about Nigeria getting, a labored win, 1-0 over Burundi, 1-0 over the other opponent, and then Guinea, and then to cap it all, losing to Madagascar, which featured quite a number of players that play in the French fifth tier. That shows there is a narrowing of the difference. In the days of Segun Odegbami, I do remember that Nigeria used to beat Benin Republic by 7-0. Nigeria could take Niger Republic to the cleaners. Bendel Insurance once beat a team from Niger Republic, Sector 7, I think they were called, in the 1974 African Cup of
Winners'
Cup, by as much as 7-1. Shooting Stars did the same thing to a Tonnerre Kalala from Cameroon. Now the situation is not like that. There's been a narrowing of the gap. But all that said and done, the fact is that if the others, I guess that's where you're coming from, if the others could cover that gap,
right,
why is it that we could not up our own standard? Malam Shehu spoke about issues that, we are in the first place responsible for our not even qualifying for the last 2 editions of the Nations Cup. I want us to bring up those issues.
Okay.
Maybe if we do that,
all right,
we should be able to, pin exactly why.
Okay. Well, perhaps at this time, can we go back to our Lagos Center? Yes. I think we've been able to fix it now. So once again, let's welcome Segun Odegbami, mathematical Segun Odegbami, former Nigerian captain, to this program. We believe that we'll hear you loud and clear this time. Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much. I've been thoroughly enjoying the conversation.
You're no stranger to all the intrigues, all the issues, and the history of Nigerian football. So first, let's start. What's your assessment of AFCON 2019? And then from there, we'll go into the issues that we have always been talking about, bedeviling Nigerian football. First, your impressions about AFCON 2019.
Well, I don't seriously think that AFCON 2019 was good advertisement at all for Nigerian football. I am struggling, even as I sit here now, to recall one great moment of that championship where Nigeria really went out and did something. One of the players did something that will remain in your mind. I can go back several competitions and start to tell you high points of those competitions. In this one, we just did not have the quality of players to have reflected the high quality of football we should be playing at this time. We should be some of the countries actually gunning to win the World Cup, not to struggle and come back and celebrate the 3rd place in AFCON. Forget about what the others are doing. What are we doing? You see, they talk about Madagascar, they talk about Burundi and Benin and all the rest of them. But what exactly are we doing? We are not doing much in Nigeria in terms of development of football and producing quality players that will continue to reflect the psychology and the style of Nigerian football. We are not doing that. All those players, there's such a mass exodus of players abroad. There's such a, retrogression in terms of development locally that those players just do not not exist. If you don't have the players, how would you go and play well in AFCON? So AFCON was not good for me. It was not a good reflection of where Nigerian football should be. And that we came third, I don't think anybody should celebrate it at all.
When you say we've not done much to get to the level where we should be, of course, we should be in contention for the World Cup. So that would lead me to think there are issues. The second vice president of NFF has talked about issues. Abdurrahman here has also talked about issues. So from your perspective, let's begin to unravel these issues that are always, always present in Nigerian football.
I will not discuss the politics. That's none of my business. I will discuss the technical side of it. Where is the production room of those players? That is very important. I think the Nigeria Football Federation is taking on certain responsibilities that should not go to it to start with. They are representing a certain level of football in the country. To organize at that level, organize competitions, pick the best of the players and let them represent us at both club and national teams. Development at the grassroots is not any business of the Nigeria Football Federation. Our footballers should come from the schools, fulfilling two obligations. One, they get an education, and two, they get an opportunity to participate in all manner of sports. The schools have the institutions. They have the manpower. They have the trained manpower. These are games masters that are qualified. They are all over the place. And they have the numbers. You can go there and physically check them, see their development level, organize competitions among themselves. And the best of them now should now become what the NFA should be responsible for, to bring them together and then push them forward. But look at what is happening with our school sports. They hardly exist anymore. Which competitions are schools participating in? Even forget the competition. What kind of sports are we organizing within the schools themselves? Sports have disappeared in primary and secondary schools. So that is the real problem. We don't have a production line of young, gifted players who have that natural ability to run. They are strong and they can dribble. Those are the three attributes of the Nigerian player, and you should see it from match to match, from club to club. And look at our history, you find them just coming through like that. But suddenly, everything has gone dry. We don't have those exceptionally gifted players coming through. It has to do with our not concentrating on development. Rather, we are just going for competitions and hoping that players will come through somehow. Nobody is developing the players in this country now.
Yes, okay. All right.
Because most of the issues my friend, my brother, Shagir have raised, I think I need to clarify a little bit.
Right.
You know, we talk about development, talk about those issues. I think first let me start with our under-17. If you check our under-17 that play in Tanzania, that qualified to the World Cup, most of those players came through a system, the under-15, the under-13s. The NFF have a standard program for the under-13s and under-15s that we do a national tournament through the state FAs every year and select the best of them, bring them to camp. Just before the Nations Cup, I think the under-15 were in Japan. The selection of the best under-15 were in Japan to play a tournament against the Japanese and stuff like that. So that meal is already being sustained. And we should thank our sponsors, Dennis Bank, who are the ones sponsoring this youth development program. That is where the NFF do their best to do that. Most of the players in our under-17 at the moment came through that system. And we have very good players that in the future they will manifest to see the good we are doing. Even now you come back to the league side, where also I'm the chairman of the league. We run the under-15 La Liga tournament. Every year, we force all the clubs in the league to have an under-15 and under-13 side. That's the development. I will bring La Liga scouts and we come and do tournaments here, and we select the best players on that team as well. As I'm here today, before this program starts, the best players that were selected from this year's tournament are already on their way to Spain to participate in some tournaments. The La Liga came here and scouted them to do that. So, and now we have many players playing in the league who are also from the under-15s of the clubs that play every year in the La Liga under-15 tournament. And apart from doing that, we are also training the coaches. From the league side, we have trained today more than over 200 coaches in the last 3 years. bring in the expert from La Liga to come and teach the coaches how to support the talent, how to go to the youth, how to get the best talent on the youth program and stuff like that. So we can't do so much more than what we are doing at the moment. The NFF are doing the grade A, the grade C of the CAF C license and stuff like that. But these things are long-term projects.
Right.
They can't come in at the moment. And from the team that we went to Nations Cup today, almost all those players that were playing in that team were product of the youth teams. They have played from the junior teams before they can get to that level. And now we have a Chukwueze, for example, who has come at less than barely 20 years, and everybody see what he can do. And a lot of his teammates, like Osimhen, who was also in the team, they were just playing under 17 in 2015. They won the World Cup. Indeed, they were in the team of 2013. Now they are at this level. So I think development, Segun knows, is something that takes a long time to put together. And not to...
Naturally.
From what we saw, he is not good enough for us going forward, because our ambition really should be that we want to win the World Cup. It's not that we want to win the Nations Cup anymore. We should be winning the Nations Cup. If we don't win, then we know that it's because there's a superior opposition and we have done our very best. We didn't do our best in the past Nations Cup. We didn't deserve to win it. And what we got from reading of the way the coach was reacting, the way he was making his changes, the players he was using and how he was using them, it just was not good enough. So for me, Gernot Rohr has served his purpose. We didn't know him well enough before he came. We have now seen him, and it is time for him to go because, as I said, our goals should just be higher. The coaching was not good enough.
Coaching was not good enough. You said that. We have another caller come from another caller on the line from Adamawa Luka, I guess. All right, Luka from Adamawa, go right ahead. Hello, Luka, are you there?
Yes, I want to ask a question about the referees.
Okay.
Yes,
yes, just go ask the question.
Yes, my question is about the referees that we have, that is on officiating. So we are not seeing any positive.
Yes, Luka, go ahead.
They are not officiating as well as in the national leagues that we are seeing. So that's why I want to ask a question on it.
Sorry, Luka, could you repeat your question?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, can you repeat that question?
My question is about officiating, the referees.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
I said the question is about officiating.
All right, fine.
The referees that we are have.
Okay.
They are not officiating the way that we are seeing in the national team, national leagues.
Okay, fine. All right.
So this is the genesis of the games that in the football is not going well.
Okay, fine.
So I want you people to give more light on it.
All right, we've noted that, and I'll raise it. I'll raise it with the panelists here. Unfortunately, I guess a panelist in here were unable to hear that question, but I have it here. And Luka from Adama was talking about the level of officiating. They had issues with the officiating generally, and the question of referees. Of course, when we went to Lagos, Segun Odegbami also said that Gernot Rohr has, served his purpose, and Nigeria should be looking out. So I want you to comment on that, and of course, you have some statistics which you say you want to share with us. Let's hear that, and hopefully we'll get other views in. Right.
I don't think I will get into passing judgment on the cost.
All right, you wait for the technical committee
we have to
report.
Do things scientifically and the right way to go about it.
All right, okay.
And this football is a bit scientific these days.
All right.
Yeah, the football we played maybe might not be too pleasing on the eye. It looks like we were able to win some games. But at least in this tournament, we are the first to qualify to the next round. That is something that can be added up. Right. And we play 5 games. Right. 7 games. Won 5, lost 2. All the 5 games we won, we also have the man of the match on that game. We have the better statistics for the game. And for that game, which shows at least we have the players that have the quality. Maybe something didn't go the right way to get us where we wanted to go. Even the Madagascar game we lost, we have already qualified to the next round, and I think the coach changed the team completely, and maybe the players were a bit lackadaisical about the game, and they are thinking they will just overrun Madagascar, and something you can see, even those 2 goals were errors.
Which goes back to the backroom staff again, because if you're not psychologically prepared for a match. Like that. Okay.
And then Jacob has said something very fundamental that I have to correct, because even the match against Algeria, that's the match that was very painful for everybody, the manner we lost and what have you. If you go and Google the statistics, I've just Googled it here. In that match, we have, even the possession, we have 51, they have 49. We are better on that. The shots, they have 8, we have 11. We are better on that. The shot on goal, they have 2, we have 4. The corners, we have 1, they have 2. And the saves, they have 3. They made 3. Our keeper made only 1 save. And the fouls, they made 20, we made 18, we made 19, 18, I guess. So you can see, even with the game, on that particular game, we are better off in all the departments of the game. But we gave them an own goal, and we gave them a very, very, very bad free kick at the very bad position, and a very bad goal to get at that particular moment. If that game have gone to extra time, the way the play was going, probably we could have been speaking something different at the moment. But that is football. Something funny has happened. But we still have to take stock and clearly where are we coming from and where are we going. I had to respond to the issue that we are quick to sack coaches before. And that didn't take us where we wanted to go. We changed coaches here, changed coaches there, we are still going in circles. So we are now putting our thinking caps clearly, okay, where are we coming from? Where are we going? What have you achieved? The coach contracts basically ends middle of next year, for example. Between next year and now, how many games are we playing for the national team? Probably 2 games, I think, or so. So that's why we have to calm ourselves down, review everything, look at what is on ground, and then see clearly how we're moving forward. It's not like we are not hearing what Nigerians are saying, or we are blind to what they're saying, or stuff like that. But we also have to look at this game, both from a technical perspective and where we are heading to, and what is the implication of the decision we are going to take. Okay. That's what's going to happen. But all right. At the end of the day, if you go to the example, when West Ham came, 1990, we get a silver, and 92 was a bronze. If we have also jumped in and sacked him, for example, at that time, there are the same calls like that. Maybe you couldn't have been speaking of West Ham today as we are speaking of him the way it is. So let's stay calm. Okay, we'll see what happens. Let's do the right things, and let's see how we can move forward the right way.
Let's try the phones again. We have Amechi calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Amechi, are you there? Amechi from Maiduguri.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for your discussions. You see, to look at what Odebamo was in. Because, you see, the Nigerian football has been turned to politics. The highest. If you look at, what Odebamo said, under grassroots selection, they are now using the basis of highest bidder. That is why the players are not playing with passion. At the time of Odebamo, they were playing with passion. They want to, by all means, get something for Nigeria. But what we are seeing today, people want to make money. That is, the highest bidder. That is what I'm talking about. But if they try to adopt in the system that we used to know before, like in 1985, when Disu was given the free hand, selected the under 16, and they won the World Cup. Nobody knew those boys until that level. And I think that will go back to that old system.
All right.
Let those who are ready to represent Nigeria. So, thank you.
Okay, Amechi, thank you very much. Let me just quickly chip in the other bit of it before we return to the question of coaching and perhaps individual players. And this one that came from Luca from Adama, he had issues with the officiating, said the referee. And by the way, it's what people say this all the time. Competitions take place, you hardly ever see Nigerian referees anywhere in international. What's the matter with our football? This one, too, people were looking at, where were the Nigerian referees in AFCON 2019? Well, Abdurrahman, you watched it. Any issues with the officiating at AFCON?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I did expect that with the first-time use of the VAR, there were bound to be controversies. Because 2 or 3 weeks before AFCON started, our ladies were at the receiving end of VAR decisions at the Women's World Cup. And I think there can be no perfection. A lot of people have condemned the use of VAR, saying that it has taken humanity out of the art of refereeing. Sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it doesn't go for you. So it's neither here nor there. You get the advantage sometimes, at some point in time, you lose it. So I think on the officiating, generally, maybe the use of VAR can be used as an alibi to say, well, the officiating was just about fair. But I want to return to what Malam Shehu Diko stated about the issue of the coach. I do agree it is reasonable, considering the fact that the coach has a certain amount of time left for his contract, and taking any abrasive action for now might be counterproductive. But the point has to be made, and I hope the NFF Technical Committee will make it, because Nigerians cannot be fooled. We may not be trained coaches, a great deal of Nigerians, but Nigerians know a good footballer when they see one. They know a good goalkeeper when they see one. But of course, there are a lot of other things happening in camp that those of us that are not in camp would not know. Those in the NFF Technical Committee and the NFF Board are in a better position to know that. But I am glad that Malam Shehu Diko has admitted that they are not oblivious to the cries and complaints of Nigerians about coaching, and they will do something about that. I'm glad he said that. And the question of Nigerian referees not being at CAF competitions, this is something that is very worrisome. Unfortunately, we do not have anybody representing the Nigerian Referees Association here.
Explain to the technicalities involved.
But Malam Shehu Diko is well placed here. He is a member of various CAF committees. And one would have thought that at the point in time that that's the way some people think, that since we have a number of Nigerians in very influential CAF committees, maybe that would influence the way referees are selected.
Is it that Nigerian referees are not good enough?
No.
But that's what the people on the streets are asking.
Let me give you the...
I would have wanted him to respond to our questions.
Which question?
Because I have another thing I want to direct to.
Okay, maybe let's hear you.
We're obviously helping you in asking the questions.
Let's hear you, and I'll come to that.
Well,
I'll be glad.
Okay, you probably are going back to the question of the coaching
Exactly.
staff. Right,
I'll be glad to do
coaching
that.
staff. Now, if Nigeria is paying hugely for a foreign coach in person of Kenneth Rowe, we believe, as at now, that there should be a way he would have influenced our football, not even only the Super Eagles, but other national teams. He must have had a way of having an imprint on other national teams. Is there anything, maybe term or clause in his contract that he has to help develop our football? from the 8th grade, and again, time to time, organize what we call symposium for the Nigerian coaches so that it can rub off on them, not only after his contract expires. If, for example, you don't renew his contract, he walks away and go, and you bring another coach, then there is nothing we have learned from our investment on the foreign coach.
All right. Just before you answer that question, so certainly you've noted it down, let's get Nicholas, who's been waiting on the line. Nicholas from Abuja. Hello, Nicholas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Program. Yeah. You see, Nigerian Football Federation, or NFF, is still the same thing with what happens generally in Nigeria. Even in a local government here in a country, you can raise a team that can win the World Cup. But they cannot do that. All they will do, maybe somebody is scoring in Europe, scoring in Germany, they will call that person to come. Now, without knowing if that person can get such support that he gets from those areas that enable him to perform here in Nigeria. Now, when somebody do said, if there is no Iniesta, there is no Messi. And if there is no Messi, no Barca. So you can see that before anybody performs, they have to have a supporter.
Okay.
That is not existing in Nigeria.
All right.
Now, from what the mathematician said, talking of Bodebami, the development of sports should start from the grassroots. Inter-house sports, we have interstate sports, we have town-to-town sports. That is where the sports develops. Except that is done, there is nothing can achieve in Nigerian sports. You can't call Mr. A from Germany and B from America and so on and come and ask them to perform together when they don't know themselves. African football is Nigerian politics.
Okay.
You don't call the talented one.
All right.
Only the one recommended to you from your godfather.
All right, Nicholas, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much. I guess we'll comment on that. But if we return quickly now to the second vice president of the NFF to respond to some of the issues that have been thrown up now, the question of what Gernot Rohr should be doing with other national teams, if he has been able to influence the development or stamp an imprint on any of those national teams. If he has to go, what happens to all those? Quickly.
Well, I think you can see that, I guess under his contract, yes, there are clauses for him to support the other teams, especially under 23s, under 21.
Right.
And you can, if you can recall, even when they were in Germany preparing for the under 21 World Cup, he was there for a few days with the team, with the coaches, and chipping one or two things. Even when they're camping here, he was with them a few times. Even on that 17 Cup, he has been there with the coaches and have a conversation and see how we can support that. We all know what happened during the under-23 qualifiers, when he has to even give out players from the senior national team to quickly go and join the under-23 to make sure we recover the deficit from Libya to qualify to the next round. So this harmony is there. And this informed the decision where we allow the coaches, the assistant coaches for the Super Eagles to also be the coaches for the under-23 and the Chan team. is to have that seamless transition from that level to the next level.
Right.
And I think, quickly, somebody mentioned, they talk about the referees.
Yes.
You know, this referees issue is quite technical. And people need to understand the basis of it. But let me give you some of the analysis. For every match day of either the African club competitions, the CAF Champions League or the African Confederations Cup, Nigerian referees are involved.
Right.
And we have never heard of any Nigerian referee have any issue with any match done in CAF or stuff like that. Also in the qualifiers for the World Cups or Nations Cup, hardly a match day will be played without Nigerian referees involved in those qualifiers. When you come to tournaments, there are strict criteria for referees to get to the tournament. Number of matches you done in your domestic league, and also the training program and stuff like that. And for a referee to go to a tournament, for example, 2022, the rating starts today. Preparation starts today to get that. Our best referee, Ferdinand Udo, for example, who was primed to be in this Nations Cup, for example, got injured. As I speak to you, he's in Dubai treating himself. He felt, so that's how we get it. And then, because of our numbers, only in Nigeria we have over 700 referees or 1,000 that are qualified to play, to do matches in the Premier League.
Right.
And there are requirements for you to give. You must do at least 10 or 15 matches before you can go to the next level or stuff like that.
So they don't get to those levels.
Because if now you say you want to shut it to do only 30 referees, you know how Nigeria is. Issues will come up with that. So this is what is slowing down the process of our referees. If you go, for example, Gassama, he's the only referee from Gambia. Every match is involved. Every week he's doing matches. That is why he does that. You do that in Nigeria now, it becomes something issue. So it takes time to build a referee to that particular.
But if I might just add, it's not even peculiar to football. It's virtually in all the sports. But let's quickly go to Lagos, and then, yes, we do have a caller. Oluwafemi is calling in from Lagos. Let's get his views, and then we'll go to Segun Adegbami. Oluwafemi, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, everyone there.
Good evening.
I'm concerned is, I hear it clearly now. Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, good. Concerning what they were debating about, I think Nigeria need some statistics they need to use in NFL, both the grassroots and the top one. And I see something in this tournament that we play recently. This our Nigeria players, I don't know why. Whether when they see the white men, they used to scare about their color. They're scared. You know why I'm saying this? The player against Cameroon, look at their best. They play the best and the best for us. And they were enjoying the match. And now, coming to the Algeria, I don't know what happened. And the same thing happened against the China. All the times. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on about that. I think there's something they need to do about that. And also, our coach. The guy is doing a great job, but there's some changes. The statistics is not enough. You know, during the Algeria, look at the Musa tried his best, but he doesn't see anybody to support him in the front. Supporting the other guys, playing Mr. Rank and all that. Nobody to support this guy.
Okay.
Before the Algeria get the last goal, that's freaking that all those players are not in the right position before the ball enters the net. Those kind of things. And we need to work on those things. Compared to our friend at Segun Adegbami in Lagos, he has seen a lot of things. And NFL need to work on their own area. And then I want NFL to write a letter to the Federation of the sports and our federation that concern these schools, local schools. They need to put in there and what's going to see it or example is that sports will continue moving up country. Because I remember 1980s, 1990s, when we play a lot of tournaments. Even though we're not the top place like this, but we play a lot of tournaments. If I'm appealing a video for you, I have a wound on my leg. I took my leg on the bottles and all that. The bottles come.
All right. Okay, Olufemi. Oluwafemi, thank you very much. Good. Just quickly before we go to Lagos, is there any color jinxed? Is there anything about any color? Perhaps you can tell us.
Well, I don't know. You know, we work with statistics.
All right, Abdurrahman.
So let me give you statistics now.
Okay.
For example, that's why people are complaining.
Okay.
You know, initially we have the white as our away jersey.
Yeah.
And people come and said, look, all the major finals we lost at all levels. We find out we're losing white.
White. Okay.
And we lost. And now the away color was changed to this beautiful dark green color, which everybody loves. Now people started counting. We lost to Croatia, Argentina. We came this year to the under-17, lost out at the tournament with the same jersey. Under-21 lost out at the tournament with the same jersey. The female team too lost to Germany with the same jersey. People now started thinking as if the jersey is something, but it really is what you play. That's what you get.
Right.
The jersey cannot be a factor for anything.
Maybe you need to get it
And we won the Nations Cup with white jersey in 1994. And in 2007, we won the under-17 with white jersey.
That's what I'm telling you.
And in 2013,
what you play?
white jersey.
You see, the point about
what you play,
I don't buy this thing about color jinx. But the point is this: the color of green, the shade of green that Segun Odegbami used to score 2 goals against Algeria in 1980 is a bit lighter than the shade of green that is being used now. Okay. Could that be a factor?
No, but before hold on, sir, before you go to Lagos, let me give you a certain example here. It's not really about Nigeria.
Okay.
On the third place match, when we are supposed to play, Tunisia were the home team, and I think they are supposed to use their white jersey, I think also, which is also their
good luck charm.
Yeah, no, that's their bad luck charm.
Okay,
CAF came with the title that Tunisia you have to use the white jersey because you are the home team, and then Nigeria you have to use our dark green shirts. The two teams were grumbling. Tunisia came to say they have no more white shirts because they too believe they always lose with the white shirts. So they changed to green. We too now changed to our favorite color. Everybody was happy, and we won.
Okay, all right. So let's go to Lagos and we'll ask Babi if there's anything about the light green which you wore and scored 2 goals. By the way, there's still some green on the shirt you're wearing tonight. But seriously, let's look at 2 things that have been thrown up here. One to do with the officiating, and of course, the role of the VAR. Well, some said it favors you sometimes, it doesn't favor you sometimes. Some people have said it's good. Goal line technology, you can actually see what is happening, but the VAR, again, the referee still has the final say. So let's hear you.
Well, let me make this very brief. I have not really made up my mind yet whether it is good or bad. But from what we have seen, it has helped a little bit. It hasn't solved the problems completely. So that's the position I will take. I don't know if we have much time, but I just want to make this appeal. It's a final appeal that our Ministry of Education, there's a department within the Ministry of Education that is in charge of school sports at primary school, secondary school, and even tertiary levels. They are the ones that used to, in those days, organize games so well in schools and between schools that threw up a lot of talent. These days, the Ministry of Education has almost completely left sports development to the associations, and that burden is too much for the associations. So I'm appealing to our government that they should please bring back the Ministry of Sports to actually come into grassroots sports development in Nigeria, and the big changes will happen to Nigerian sports.
Let me stay with you for a little longer and put this out. Now, we've talked about the coaching. Well, some have said, yes, we need someone else who can, give Nigerians the flair that they want. But what about the individual players themselves, the skills we saw about them? Did any player stand out for you, first in the Nigerian squad and on the African continent generally? And again, there are many Nigerians who have raised questions about the level of goalkeeping. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me start from the goalkeeping. What I remember most is that last goal against Algeria. That goal, unfortunately for my friend Akpeyi, it is unforgivable. It is such an elementary, when you start goalkeeping, that's what they teach you first. When you set up a wall and where to stand in the wall. He just went totally contrary to what you were taught at elementary level of goalkeeping. So that one is hard to stomach, and it may reflect on the quality of goalkeepers that we have. Unfortunately, Ezenwa, for me, has always been a good goalkeeper. The other goalkeeper also did well in the last match that he played. So we need to look into the area of goalkeeping. That's very, very serious. Then the other one, I can't remember the question you asked, but no, I really can't remember now. But that's my thought on the goalkeeping.
Is there any outstanding player that AFCON 2019 threw up?
Well, for me, I concentrated, let me admit, I concentrated too much on the Nigerian team. I was watching out for the Nigerian team, you know. I didn't watch all the other games. I watched a couple of them. But one player, Mahrez of Algeria, he was truly outstanding, and at critical times you could see he would make the difference. In our own team, well, nobody really stood out. For goal scoring, it was Ighalo. But when you look at the game that he played in terms of, you know, running, passing, moving, and all of that, you know, he did not play very well, but he delivered on goals. So we did not have truly, truly outstanding players. That's why probably we don't have, except Ighalo, we don't have anybody in the Africa 11 at the end of the day. Nobody really stood out for me. But for the whole championship, a few players. But Mahrez, for me, at the critical times, he just came up and he delivered. And he was for me, the outstanding player.
Let me just put this. People have talked about the quality of the tournament itself. And you have some statistics. Algeria, you know, a country that won. I mean, what was the level of their play? What was the quality of their play? And by, you know, did we see the kind of goals? Did we see the number of goals that you would expect to see in a tournament like this? And the winners, with how many goals did they win the tournament?
Well, Algeria, I think, were the highest goal scorers in the tournament, so you can say they deserve to win. And I think Nigeria were second, the highest goal scorers in the tournament, but we also consider a lot, 7, which points to the fact that there's a goalkeeping problem. So which everybody have to accept that, because we give out 7 goals, we score 9 goals. Algeria, I think, have 12. I think also that's the highest scorers in the tournament, and that's how they won the game.
And they consider 2.
They consider only 2, because they play a very shoot kind of football, a typical Arab kind of football, what we call disruptive football. Because, like, look at in the final, they have the highest yellow cards in the whole tournament, because they won't allow you to play. They keep coming at you because they are small, they keep falling down, they keep bringing you down, fouls here and there, and break your play. And when they get the ball, they run past game, which is catchy to the eye. They might not go to your goal post, but at least they will go as if they want to go after you, then they come back and wait for you to start playing, they break your play. In the final, they were very dirty. If you look at Senegal, have all the statistics in the final to win the final, but they came with the tactics. Once they get the first goal, they ensure Senegal never play. I think they make about 18 fouls, 30-something fouls in the final tournament. But they did that to stop Senegal because they can't allow Mane and Co to get there to get the game. So they came with a blueprint, which suits their kind of players and their kind of game, and it worked for them. They were able to get through and win the tournament deservedly.
And you could attribute that to coaching, right?
Yeah, the coaching was part of the team.
And tactics.
The coaching was part of the team. He was the former captain of the team, so he knew how they play. The players listened to him, I think, and they played that way. It worked for them, because under some other tournament, they could have been out a long time because they would have got a red card. Because they were doing too many fouls that could have given them shorter plays, the number of players in the game, that could have taken them out of the game.
All right.
But
there's just something that Jacob hasn't commented on, and it's to do with the VAR. You know, Abdurrahman talked about it, and Segun Odegbami has talked about it. The VAR, win some, lose some. Ultimately, the referee still decides, especially in situations where the ball is handled in the 18. How do you begin to decide? You take a look at it. Some referees will take a decision which is different from what another referee, and meanwhile you have the VAR there which shows you the same thing.
I think just as it has been said before I spoke, it is still undergoing improvement. Like, I totally got pissed off in 2018 when it was first introduced, because the VAR was just at the discretion of the center referee. So if he likes, he calls for it. If not, the play goes ahead. But if the VAR must take a critical part of the game, I think the person in charge of the VAR should be the one calling the attention of the referee for a major incident in the game, whether it's a goal, whether a red card offense, as the case may be, or there is another critical thing that the referee must be, the attention of the referee must be called to, maybe a penalty call. So, but in 2019 now, the little improvement is that the people at the VAR room call the attention of the referee now, not the other way around, as it was initially.
But ultimately, the referee still decides.
Yes.
No, let me make a small clarification here,
All right.
so that we can understand this VAR issue. I think I'm privileged because I was a member of the FIFA Stakeholders Committee.
Okay.
That was the committee that approved the VAR even for the 2018 World Cup. So I was part of the people that took that decision. And people don't, at times they get confused with the VAR. If the referee calls for a foul or an event, and the VAR look at it as very clear, they would take a decision for the VAR referee and tell him this is the decision and you implement. If a referee is called in to go and have a look, it means the decision is 50-50.
All right.
It can either go this way or go that way. So they still want the referee to use his human nature to decide. So he goes and have a look, and then it can go either way. And then he can maybe consult with somebody, but at that point in time, the decision is no more VAR decision, is the referee's decision. So people have to understand this discretion. Once the referee goes to the VAR, it means that decision could can go either way. So the referee have to go and have a look and think twice, maybe consult with the people in the VAR referee, and then he decides the decision. But when we get the report back to the FIFA and the committee on the VAR performance at the World Cup, we found that about 98% of all decisions by the VAR was right. It might be hurting some people, but it was right. And then all the players, almost 99% of the teams accepted the decision of the VAR. Because when the referee was doing manual refereeing or without the VAR, for example, you can see people challenging referees and everything. But once it is VAR, you can see everybody will just go in and the player will play and nobody will be complaining again.
No, you see, the problem in 2018 was that...
It means it's working, and then, yes, there's still improvement to be made on that.
Okay, so, gentlemen, as we begin to wind down, there's just this one aspect, two issues really, which we can just go through quickly as we wind down. And one of them has to do with, well, football is an outdoor sport and spectators watch. Forget what TV has done these days where, where people sit in the comfort of their homes and watch. But people go to the stadium. AFCON 2019, did we see the kind of spectators at the, the various arenas as would have been expected of a competition of this nature? I mean, some people have said that you shouldn't compare, but others have said, look, when it's in Europe, you can see how the fever gets all over and people are in the stadiums. Did we see that in AFCON 2019?
Absolutely not. But you can't blame the Egyptians, for example, because the AFCON was given to them basically in December, and they had to play it in July. So the time was too short. And even them, the organizers, accepted this will happen. If, for example, you go to Alexandria, They have a stadium that's the second biggest in Africa, about, about 90,000. But they didn't even repair the stadium for the tournament because they know it's not going to have the crowd. They went to the smaller stadium, that is just about 15,000, and that's the one they fixed for the tournament. So that issues happens, and then, you know, in Africa, we still have that problem. Traveling. There are so many fans who are interested to follow their country, to travel, but to travel from one location in Africa to the other, actually, at times you have to go to Europe. Then you can connect back to that place. So part of what we talk of is maybe next time when they are doing this, they have to see how they can sign partnership with specialist airlines and stuff like that, can move funds across the cities to the stadiums and stuff like that. You can see only the Egyptian games were very full. The moment Egypt went out, the fans were, only the final was something else. But really we could do better.
Well, I do agree with Shehu. The point is basically in Africa, and one will cite very good examples here in Nigeria. You play a match in Nigeria, even if it is for the Super Eagles, if it is not in, say, Enugu, Kano, maybe Kaduna, Lagos, or Ibadan, you will hardly see crowd. The Moshood Abiola National Stadium here is a case in point. That stadium has never been full to any capacity.
Except when they declare the gates free.
Even when the gates are declared free. I was privileged to watch Nigeria play, I think,
it was full
Argentina. I was privileged to watch Nigeria play Argentina. That match that the Eagles famously won by 4-1, I think.
4-2 also.
The stadium was hardly 1/3 full. The only time that stadium was full was during the infamous interview for immigration services, and that is not the way it should be. So that is the character of the Nigerian, and I dare say the African soccer fan. Once the host nation gets knocked out, then there's a problem. Even during the Under-19 World Cup, that World Youth Championship that Nigeria hosted, when Nigeria got knocked out in Enugu, I think by Mali, the stadium, had to be flung open for free, so that fans can come in. But I think it's an African thing. Times are hard, and once a favored team isn't there, the football attendance culture becomes a little bit suspect. And for those of us who have stayed in Lagos, and we noticed that in the past, in the days when Segun Adegbami and co used to play, the stadia were always full, jam, full to capacity. Rangers, Shooting Stars, Bendel Insurance, Mighty Jets, you are guaranteed. But the way things have developed, you get some rascals going into the stands and throwing objects, sometimes even urinating and throwing water down on people in the stands. All these kind of things have made for respectable family people who are interested in simply watching the game to, just have a drawback. So all these are things. And of course, the intrusion of satellite TV, when you can sit down in the comfort of your living room and watch a good game, why would you want to go into a crowd that you're not sure you're going to come back safe?
All right. Yes, Jacob.
I think basically we need to do more work. That is just a simple thing in Africa. Though the economy in Africa contributes a great deal to how you attract fans to the stadium. But go to South Africa, for example, and most of these North African, they still draw more crowd to their own stands than what we have in Nigeria. Meaning that in Nigeria, we still need to do more work to ensure that we draw fans to the stadium. I wouldn't know if I'm allowed to still throw a question.
Well, we're rounding up at this point.
You can. If it's a quick one, you can.
Well, if it's a quick one, because we have only a few minutes to go and we still have to get back to Lagos.
Okay,
and,
a quick one.
Yes, let's hear you.
Since Malam Shehu is the head of the Nigerian Professional Football League, I want to ask him, is he satisfied with the selection of players to the 2019 AFCON, that no player from, just one single player from the professional...
From his league.
From his league was selected.
Well.
And If he's not satisfied, or the other way, why?
Okay.
Well, I can tell you, you understand the problem. When Ganaro came in, he has called in more than 25 players from the domestic football, trying to develop them. But where are they? A player that has his name in the camp, the next flight is abroad. Even during that tournament, 2 players that were from the league, the captain of Utim from Iyimba and the central defender from Iyimba, who are on the under-21. They signed, before they come back, they signed for professional clubs. They were on the list initially. Remember, they were on the standby list. So we understand that problem. And we now have to keep working to make sure that we improve the league to the level where we can keep the best players at least for a very long time so they can play for the national team. We can't be blaming the coach and then blaming the system on that. But still, we felt, how we have told him that, we felt we could have gotten opportunity to at least take in some players from the league, regardless of whatever is the position. But if you look at it, maybe a player will have been called into that national team from the domestic league before even the tournament starts. He will have signed for a club in Europe. And he'll be registered with the club.
Meaning that our league needs to work on
so we need to
the
work on
remuneration of their players,
yes.
marketing, broadcast, facility, followership, development.
The day we come to talk about that, you'll be able to understand how far and how deep we have gone on that level.
Perhaps we'll save those comments for your closing comments, but let's go over to Lagos now. And Segun Odegba, we're just about rounding off now. On the continental level now, what you think CAF should be doing to better improve this competition, even as you have an eye on 2021?
Well, I must commend CAF for what they have done with African football through the years. As Shehu said initially, the 24-match format is a big development to the game. And if you see the pitches that were used, even at very short notice in Egypt, the pitches are becoming better and better. The coverages of the games are becoming better. The analysis on television and on radio have improved tremendously. So everything is really happening, positively for the game. And one must commend CAF. So my advice is to just keep on that same trajectory. And we hope that one day our Africa Cup of Nations will be as good as the European Championship.
Your appeal, that's coming back home. You've already made an appeal to the authorities here. But one final word on Nigeria in international meets like this, continental meets.
My appeal again is that we should share the responsibility for the fate of our sports. Millions of our children are involved all over the country, and it will help to retain them in school. It will help to enroll them in school if we focus a lot of our attention on sports development within the schools. It will take a lot of people off the unemployment table if only we can get our sports to become a huge industry that it is, one of the fastest developing in the world. Give us a good minister of sports who understands the game. Give us a national sports commission that will help us put technical people in charge of our sports all over the country. With these things in place, and an NFA that is young, I see that the NFA of now is young and very progressive, the future of sports in Nigeria would be very, very bright.
For sharing your thoughts with us and taking time to come on this program. Thank you very much, Segun Odegba, who joined us from our Lagos Center, the mathematical Segun Odegba, former captain of Nigeria. And, well, we hope we'll see you soon enough on Sports Parliament. Yeah? All right. Okay. Thank you. And for the second Vice President of the NFF, your closing thoughts?
Well, I think, firstly, I have to acknowledge, what Segun have said. I think we need to go and incorporate the schools and everything to make sure that we get the responsibilities spread to get the right process going. We're doing our best on that. I can assure you on that, because all the boys that are bringing to our junior under 13, under 15, we ensure that before you play, you must come with your last school results. Show which school are you playing. And at times we used to go for spot checks to be sure that you are bringing the right result, you are in the right age. So we are working on that to get that sorted. And then As Jacob have said, the bedrock of football development is the domestic football, is the league. And I think that is what we are focusing on. That is what we are working on. We are doing a lot of things from the foundation to make sure that we change this league to the best that it could be. That now will be the bedrock of our development. That will drive from the youth development to everything the league will be able to drive it. And then we can be able to have a football economy going for us. Right. And I must thank the former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, who drive the process to get the NBC code reviewed, because that's part of the foundation that has been put in place. The day we come to discuss the league, we will discuss this.
All right,
this
certainly. So thank you. We'd like to thank you also for coming. Thank you very much. Abdurrahman.
Well, I'd like to start by acknowledging what Malam Shehu Diko has stated about the former Minister of Information, midwifing the drawing of the NBC code, which is geared towards empowering Nigerian television stations to be able to really do what they should concerning sports production and viewing generally. And that is going to be the contribution of media outfits like the NTA. We just did that with the AFCON in collaboration with Hotspots. So it's an ongoing process that has been started, and we do hope that in the final analysis, the production line for our sportsmen and women, not only in football, but in athletics and others, will be improved in such a way that in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we will see that our aging stars are being replenished systematically, because we know we do have the talent to make Nigeria proud at all times.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdurrahman Ibn Mohammed, former General Manager, NTA Sports 24, former General Manager, NTA International. Thank you. And final word for Jacob.
Yeah, I have a dream to see Nigerian football structure well channeled, and whereby we will begin to achieve and win laurels effortlessly.
All right. Thank you so much, Jacob Oyekale, sports analyst. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Well, that's our program, and we also like to thank you for being part of it. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.